first tonight to the United States, and a change of heart from Donald Trump, who's now calling on House Republicans to vote to release government files relating to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Trump said it was time to move on from what he described as a Democrat hoax. The president has come under huge pressure from some within his own Republican Party to release the files. Last week, a huge new batch of emails was released from the sex offender's estate, including some that mentioned President Trump, although one of Jeffrey Epstein's most well-known accusers, the late Virginia Giuffre, has said that President Trump couldn't have been friendlier and that there is no implication of any wrongdoing. Correspondents say this call on House Republicans to vote to release the Epstein files is a reversal of what Mr. Trump has been saying over the past week, urging House Republicans not to sign on to this discharge proposal. It's expected the U.S. Congress will vote this week on whether the Justice Department should release all files related to Epstein. On Friday, President Trump said he will ask his Attorney General and the FBI to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's relationships with the former President Bill Clinton and other prominent Democrats.
I don't know, but I heard they are appointing a U.S. attorney, and I hear a really good one to look into it. I hear Southern District is going to be looking Jay Clayton, and he's a great man, a great attorney, and he's a highly respected, one of the most respected people in the country in terms of law and law enforcement. As you know, he headed up the SEC. He was the head of Sullivan and Cromwell for years. He's one of the most respected people in the country. He's been confirmed for the Southern District. And I heard Jay is going to be looking into it. Jay Clayton is a real, he's a real legal talent and a very, very legitimate person.
You believe that president should be able to order investigations?
Sure. I mean, I'm the chief law enforcement officer of the country. Not that I want to use that, but I am considered the chief law enforcement agent in the country, and I'm allowed to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. I had nothing to do with that choice. As an example, that came from Pam Bondi.
President Trump. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from Paris, France, by Arise special correspondent James Blue. James, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Is it clear why Donald Trump appears to have changed his mind on releasing the Epstein files?
Yeah, it's very clear. Charles, great to be with you this evening. Donald Trump recognized that he was going to lose the vote, that the House was going to actually vote against his wishes and vote to release the Epstein files and ask the Justice Department to do that. And in so doing, he really recognized that that would be a political defeat. This comes off the heels of the midterm elections, the off-year elections, which were not good for him and his party. And so he really wanted to get ahead of it. And, there was a preview last week when the committee that is investigating this matter began releasing items. And what I am hearing is that the White House found that there was no smoking gun. There was nothing really that sort of got them into the hot seat. And that is why they now are prepared to have the entire Epstein file released. They are hoping that this sort of show of transparency, which is at the very last minute, will sort of give them some credibility with their base. But having pledged to do this and then sort of put a stonewall in actually getting it done, the president and his team really have no credibility on this issue. However, they are begrudgingly agreeing, trying to show that they are open, transparent, and ready to take whatever comes from the revelations that are in these files.
Well, I mean, a lot of the oxygen in Washington appears to be taken up by this Epstein file issue. I mean, thousands of pages of files have already been released. Do we know how much more there is?
Well, we don't know exactly how much more there is because we don't know exactly the sort of the range of what's going to be released. One of the concerns, and I have spoken to people who've worked with the FBI, people who worked in the FBI, there will be leads within these files that name people who have been investigated and who the investigation turned up nothing. And so the fear is that these files will in some way cause injury to people who have no reason to be injured in that way. And so that is the real danger. And if you press the Trump administration about this last week, they said that was one of the things that they were worried about, that innocent people could be named and shamed for their association with Jeffrey Epstein. But there are a large number of files. And, basically what's going to happen as these files are released, you're going to have journalists working 24/7 going through them, just trying to figure out what is there and the names on the list that are there. And I think it will continue to sort of drip as people sort of get through the files. We've done this before as news organizations. You sort of have, 10,000 records. You split them up 2,000 pages across 5 people, and you go through page by page, just trying to figure out what exactly is there.
And what do you make of the upcoming investigation by President Trump into Epstein's relationship with Bill Clinton and the Democrats? I mean, these would seem to be political opponents of President Trump, and you have to wonder why he doesn't have an investigation into everyone who's linked to Jeffrey Epstein instead of just focusing on political opponents.
Yeah, no, it's very clear what President Trump is trying to do. What is less clear is whether the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District will comply. It turns out I know Jay Clayton. We are been associated for many years, lived in Washington and London together. I know his family, his wife. He is a fine lawyer. He is a very reputable person. And I know he is likely struggling with this request. I am confident that the U.S. Attorney, Jay Clayton, will figure a way through it that gets the job done, but also does and follows the law as it should be followed. And it is a very clear play by President Trump to target his political enemies. He did it with James Comey, who was under indictment. He did it with the Attorney General of the state of New York, Letitia James, who's under indictment. His former national security advisor, John Bolton, is under indictment. This is a real tool in the president's playbook. And it's very dangerous to have the chief executive of a country to be able to use the Justice Department against those who are his political enemies. And I think as people worry about the slide toward autocracy in the United States, these are the examples that they point to. The Justice Department being used for the particular political goals of the US president.
And we should say, James, that neither Bill Clinton nor President Trump have been accused of doing anything wrong in this context. But would it be fair to say that Donald Trump has got to this political situation partly due to his own making? Because, it was the Republican Party and its candidates during the election campaign who were stoking the conspiracy theory related to Jeffrey Epstein about what may or may not be in those files.
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate point, Charles. The demand for these documents really originated with the Republicans and specifically the Republican grassroots. There is this strong belief among certain Republicans that there is a band of pedophiles and child molesters who are being protected at the highest levels of the US government. And they see the Epstein case as part of that conspiracy. And so there is this whole desire to have President Trump on re-election really get to the bottom and immediately release those files. You may recall his head of the Justice Department, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, at one point said, "They're on my desk. I'm about to release them." The head of the FBI, Kash Patel, had made sort of similar claims. And the reality is these people were demanding when they were out of office that these files be released. on return to office, they were really stonewalling and putting up all sorts of roadblocks. And so the fact that President Trump has gotten to the place where he wants his party to support it, he's just back where he started. And this is a sort of dilemma of his own making, and one that he stoked when he was out of office.
James, thank you very much indeed. James Blue is Arise special correspondent. He was talking to me on the line there from Paris, France.